All right, what's going on out there? How's everybody's week? Good? Got some comments down here. Yeah, I don't know how hard-hitting my reporting on the war is about to be. But, yeah. Yeah, I wish. But, yeah, no, let's kind of get into it, right? We all knew this was coming. You knew it was coming because you just... I don't know what the right answer is, but it just seems like we're constantly at war. There's the whole fucking GWAT thing, right? And look, again, I'm going to share my opinions on this. I don't know whether they're right or wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some geopolitical expert. But yeah, no, I agree, man. We lost with 5 injured so far. But, I mean, here's the thing. We don't know how this is going to play out. Don't know what the plans are. It's my personal opinion. The Pentagon is smart enough to know you can't go into Iran like we did in Iraq. Reason being, it's just geography. Iran is what? 2 to 3 times the size of Iraq. Okay, it's mountainous. It has some of the worst deserts anywhere in the world. What's going on, man? I know, like, where you been? Don't have to listen to me, but welcome back. Appreciate the view. No, this is what I'm saying. Iran is not going to be, going into Iran is not going to be like going into Iraq. The Iranians are pretty buddy-buddy with the Chinese and the Russians. I guess 80% of Iranian oil, this is the statistic I heard, didn't verify it, but it sounds correct. About 80% of... I'm not happy, man. I'm not happy. We knew this was going to happen. It's why they want the citizens to rise up. And this is the question, okay? Look, why this is kind of dangerous, in my opinion. From here on out, you guys know this is just my opinion. I don't want to keep repeating the same words. It's fucking stupid, but... if we don't have success in Iraq, it makes the United States look limp on the world stage. So we kind of knew this was coming. From my understanding, they were negotiating. Trump has been on record as saying, yeah, Iran can't have the bomb. I don't know how this is all decided. Yeah, the Ayatollah Khomeini, yeah, he's a bad dude. You know, look at, they're executing their citizens. Look, if you don't think that in the United States, right, if we were trying to overthrow the government, they wouldn't execute you. I got a bridge to sell you in the Arizona desert. I don't know what to tell you on that. It is what it is, man. I was hoping we were going to get the Iran strike. Fine. You know, we struck their nuclear facility. Bibi Netanyahu gets what he wants. Yeah, some of what he wants. Because what he wants is us to eliminate the government of Iran. Now, whether that is you turn Iran into a failed state or you turn it into a functioning democracy, I don't know. Again, all of our interference caused them to go from what could be considered a liberal Western democracy into a hardline Islamic state. Now, the way I understand it, the Iranians are pretty liberal. They don't really want this. I don't blame them. Who the fuck wants to walk around in some weird religious garb? You have every fucking person on the left in America screaming about, what is it? It's Handmaid's Tale, written by, some crazy Canadian feminist. It's an interesting story, but I mean, this is what they throw at you. Then, over there, it's basically Handmaid's Tale. And women aren't used as breeders, I guess, but it is what it is. And I'm just saying, we'll see how this turns out. But this has the potential to be catastrophic to the United States. It's standing in the world. Now, I understand Iran did a dumb thing. They bombed a bunch of their Arab neighbors. Okay. Arabs probably want the Iranian government gone. It's a hardline thing, but just prepare if this really goes south. Just prepare for all the censorship. Prepare for the age-old Neville Chamberlain argument. I can already see this coming. Jay, you don't seem overly enthused about going to war with Iran. Right. I've seen this story before. I saw this story when I served in Iraq. Okay, let's go back a little bit. I was sitting in Iraq running the Balad Hospital generator. Yeah, I'm a generator mechanic, not a tier 1 guy, obviously, or a tier 2 dude. Running the Balad Hospital generator. All of the wounded soldiers are coming through there, so all I see is these medevacs coming in, dropping off the wounded. And I turned 30 in Iraq in 2008. I'm sitting there looking, and that's when it just dawned on me. I go, this is all bullshit. I go, it's the same thing over and over again. It's young men dying, old men talking. I'm sure Lindsey Graham, I'm sure Lindsey Graham is masturbating and watching himself in the mirror to all the death and destruction. These military industrial complex politicians, they're all demons. They're literally just demons. They all just masturbate to the money, to the idea of the money they're going to get paid to say right current thing. They ignore the death and destruction. And it's like, I was having this talk the other night with this guy. He was in the Air Force too. So it was at work. We're talking. And the subject comes up and he's got that. I'm not going to sit there and insult the guy. I'm not going to sit here and say he wasn't the brightest dude I've ever talked to. What he was a guy that accepts the narrative. You wonder where that comes from. Now, I know that if I had said to him, I'm not really a big fan of us going into Iran. Why? Well, not that it's not going to happen inevitably. How's this going to affect the market? Right? I know the market's overvalued. I'm not going to argue with anybody about it. Just is. It's one of the most overvalued markets we've ever seen. What happens if Iran manages to mine the Straits of Hormuz and shut down this major trade route? Well, $7 gas. And they're already talking to OPEC. OPEC's going to start pumping to keep gas prices down. This is one of the ways that they use the American military. And what they know is that once the consequences of a war truly come home, it loses popularity. Yeah. Yeah, I don't... Yeah, you could argue that. I'm throwing that out. I'm going to hit everybody's comments. Don't think I'm ignoring it, but it just kind of breaks the flow if I just keep addressing comments. So I'm going to probably do some more at the end. I don't disagree with you. I think it is. I think it's probably the most overvalued, but somebody can make a case that maybe .com was more overvalued. I'm not really going to sit there and argue that. But the real test becomes, right? So they go to OPEC, and they say, hey, you guys pump some more oil? Why do they do that? Well, if they don't, and the price of gas rises, it's going to shut down the economy. People are going to really start feeling pain. This is what most of our wars have been. From Vietnam, part of the problem with the stagflation in the 1970s was the overspending on the Vietnam War and the space race, which was really to develop intercontinental ballistic missile technology. They're never going to tell you what they're really up to. But, during the Iraq War, basically they use, money printing, keep oil prices down. Because, again, once the pain starts hitting your average American, they don't want war. It's almost like it's this thing where, hey, whatever, go over and bomb Iran. As long as it doesn't affect me over here, fuck them. And you're just sitting there going, yeah, but dude, here's the problem. Eventually it will begin to affect you, whether you like it or not. It's always rah, 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 rah in the beginning. Oh, you're not 100% on board. Well, look, if you have to change the regime, I'm not going to get into the whole Israel conspiracy, the Greater Israel Project. I mean, if you've been on my channel at all, you're probably aware of the Greater Israel Project. You just had an interview with Tucker Carlson where he's talking to Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee is like, oh, the Bible, it promised Israel to the Jews. And you're sitting there and you're going, all right, Bobby, let me explain something. Let me explain something to you. I'm going to put up this Daily Mail article. But let me explain something to you. Israel in the Bible is not the same thing as the country that was founded in 1948. My opinion on what Israel really is and why they sell this idea that Israel is our greatest ally, because Israel is clearly not our greatest ally. I don't know why we would say our greatest ally is 6,000 miles away. Why isn't Canada in Mexico our greatest ally? I've never actually understood this. Israel, greatest ally. Christian Zionists come. I'm not a Zionist. The whole question, or the whole statement. Do you support Israel's right to exist? Sure, right? I support everybody's right to exist. All right, so that you're 100% on board with what Israel does. Now, my support of anything is not just 100% compliance. I either agree or I disagree, right? There's certain aspects of it. I'm not going to agree with anybody 100% of the time. Then we get back to it. Well, you're like Neville Chamberlain. Yeah, everybody's fucking Hitler, bro. Here's the truth. Hitler isn't even the best killer, okay? Genghis Khan wiped out 10% of the human population. Genghis Khan is the greatest killer in history. And to just be perfectly honest with you, I've said this before, Genghis Khan shows up in my village and he goes, "Hey, Jay." Like, "Yeah, Genghis." It's like, "I heard you're a pretty good archer." And I'm like, "Yeah, man. What do you want to know?" "Well, I'd like to give you the opportunity to help me kill everybody." "I like it. Let me go get my bow." Okay? But it's always, Mao Zedong killed somewhere between 45 and 100 million people. Pol Pot killed 30% of his population in 4 years. But every time, "Hey, Jay, you want to go to war with insert Middle Eastern country so we can remake it for Israel?" "Nah, I'm all good. I already served over in the Middle East. My time is done. What do you want me to say?" "Well, you sound a little bit like a isolationist." "Okay. We got 2 oceans separating us. We could just rule the Western Hemisphere and we have everything that we need." "But Iran, they're not on the petrodollar." "Okay. Are we going to bomb every country that has oil that isn't on the petrodollar? Because it seems like that's where we're going." And to get into it, right, about Trump and my disappointment with him. We knew Trump's red line was Iran having a nuclear weapon. Okay? Yeah, they could launch and hit us in America. Why would they do that? That's instant death. They get one nuclear weapon and they're like, it's a good idea. Let's nuke America or England. It's not like you're going to be instantly a glass factory after that. No. It's just the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, is just going, "I'm the most evil man that's ever existed." Right? Yeah, Persians want him out of there. But, yeah, Trump, I knew we weren't getting the Epstein files. And I was just really hoping we didn't end up in a protracted hot war. Are we headed that way? I don't know. It kind of looks like we are, but, it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not a cheerleader for war. I'm not going to be ever. It's just one of those things. Let me do some of these comments and we'll move on. Just if you're out there, you're listening, just watch the markets. I don't know how this is going to affect anything. This is what I just been telling people. If you get spooked, because you are in an overvalued market, don't hesitate to go over to cash or bonds. We're still pretty good on the bonds. You're getting a better yield than you will from the S&P 500. I don't know why this is hard for people to follow. I don't know why people a lot of times don't understand misallocation of capital. And if you're much above a price to earnings ratio of 20, you're probably misallocating capital. It's like, "Oh, Jay, that's stupid. You went over into T-bills at basically the same level we're at now." Yeah, and I made about, what have I made? $3,000 while the market stagnated. We'll see how this plays out in the future, but it is what it is. You have a 1.15 to 1.2 dividend in the market. An overvalued market is paying you a 1.2 dividend. Right? Yeah, well, there's capital gains. Great. Collect the capital gains. Put it in cash. Wait. All you need is a catalyst. The top 7 stocks, the Mag 7, are 35% of the S&P 500. You know what I mean? Pay attention. You might be fingering assholes down at the truck stop. I don't know. I still have some money in the market. All I did was convert my TSP over to fucking bonds and then my IRA over to treasuries, but I still have stocks in my brokerage account. I'm at ease with it. They crash. I've preserved most of my wealth. I'm not going to sell because, again, capital gains. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not psychic. So, yeah, it is what it is. Let's do some comments. We're going to do some more funny shit. Talk about this liberal professor. I'm going to make fun of her. Sorry, I was a little bit serious there. It just seems like constant, you can't escape war. That's how it seems to me. It's like, seems to me, no matter what we do as a populace, yeah, we don't want war. Oh, you guys, I know you didn't want war, but here's war light. What we're going to do is we're just going to park our aircraft carriers and bomb them. And then, eventually we'll get dragged into a hot war when some soldiers or airmen or seamen or Marines or whoever gets killed, then we'll just go in. Yeah. Can't escape it. Knew it was coming. Nope. Not at all, Dex. Sorry, did that already. No, I know, why they want the citizens to rise up, but this just becomes the question. Do you have enough manpower to overthrow the government? I don't know the answer to that. Here's what I hope happens in Iran. I hope we have this limited bombing campaign. The Iranians rise up. They put somebody into power that creates a functioning, basically, democracy in the Middle East, even though that's not really the goal. The goal is, hey, let's install strongman personal finance, that is. They'll sell us oil cheaply, and we don't really care what's going on in that country as long as, we get the oil and get them on the petrodollar. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe the citizens will rise up. Maybe they won't. It is what it is. And honestly, if the market crashes, it's just a buying opportunity for all of us. And I have to wonder about this. What are they going to say if the market starts crashing? I wonder how they're going to sell that. I was kind of hoping we would make it till, say, after the midterms to do this, but doesn't look like that happened. Looks like you're going to have a blue wave. Prepare for Trump to be constantly impeached by rhinos and Democrats. Should have had Kamala. Dude, you would be in this war no matter who is there. It's not a Trump thing. That's a deep state thing. That's an oligarch ruling class thing. That's an Israel thing. If you think Kamala would have had... Guys, I really want you to think this one out logically. Kamala Harris is dumb as fuck. I don't know any other way to say that. She's so dumb, she made me lose faith in lawyers. And people... She was actually known in law school to be dumb. If you believe the rumors. I don't know, I wasn't there. Never actually talked to Kamala. Maybe it's all just an act. Maybe she's sitting around, doing differential equations in her head. And so she gets asked a simple question. She's trying to hold her spot, doing differential equations. and, somebody interrupts her and they get a word salad. Maybe. I have a tendency to think, if you saw the exchange between, I believe it was the Czech president or prime minister, but it was a European guy, conservative. And you saw the exchange between Hillary Clinton and this guy. This is why I just don't really believe the IQs that are reported. Now, from all the research I've done, Bill Clinton is actually extremely intelligent. And it kind of comes through. I can see that. When he's talking, I'm like, oh, this is a clever boy. How clever is he to get caught up with Epstein? That's the real question. But you listen to Hillary Clinton trying to go clap back at this Czech president. And Hillary Clinton's talking about Donald Trump, whatever. I think it's all political theater. I think Hillary hates Trump because she lost, but Hillary's awful. I think Bill Clinton and Trump are actually friends, but she's sitting there, she's talking about all this shit about women, right? She's supposed to have like 150 IQ. I would have checkmated her in one move. I would have looked at her and said, oh, we know what a woman is now? Like, you're a Democrat. For like 5 years, couldn't even define what a woman... It's like that lawyer that was talking to Alex Jones in one of the funniest responses in human history. When that lawyer goes, is it your contention that there is a cabal of child molesters that run the world? And Alex Jones, without skipping a beat, goes, you mean like what the Clintons did with Epstein? And the whole court shuts down. And I'm like, bro, you went to law school. How did you not predict that response? That is, I didn't go to law school. So if I had to question a guy on the stand, if I was just in the room with the lawyers and the guy's going, yeah, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trap him with this conspiracy. Yo, you said that there's a global cabal of child molesters, right? If I was sitting in that room, I would have looked at them and said, you need to get a new guy to go after Alex Jones. What do you mean? Steve is one of our best lawyers. That's the dumbest question you could possibly ask Alex Jones. I would have been sitting there going, off the top of my head, we could probably sit here for the next 10 minutes where I give you smart-ass Alex Jones rebuttals to the question you just asked. So, again, we're told that lawyers are smartest people. Hillary Clinton's the smart 150 IQ. Yeah, I just watch her telegraph all her moves, say stupid shit, and I just sit back and I go, I don't think we're getting the full story. It's hilarious. But, yeah. We're going to waste... Oh, bro, we don't have ammo for a protracted war with Iran. A lot of our missiles went to Ukraine, got sold into the black market, so we don't have enough munitions for this. The way I understand it. I'm sure there's a Pentagon guy sitting there going, oh, you moron, we have more than enough munitions to shut down Iran. All right, maybe. But from the way I understand it, we kept sending these packages to the Ukraine. As, again, back to him. That demon Lindsey Graham, who just gets done with whatever rent boy he hired, desperately... I could sit there in an interview and all it would be is Lindsey Graham trying desperately not to dive on my cock, right? It's like they trot this dude out. I can't do it right now because I got that whatever Ebola that was going around, and I was knocked down for, what was I knocked down? For like 5 days, man. Just hacking, fantasizing about Hillary Clinton. But like, Lindsey Graham is like, dude, everybody knows you're gay. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with being gay. I'm not judging you. There's gay dudes out there that could tune you up. But you trot out every time there's a war. This effeminate dude that probably couldn't stand getting rain on him on a slightly cool day without losing his entire... I just picture Lindsey Graham as a guy that could never overcome any level of physical adversity in his life. Couldn't go over to the Middle East, deal with the heat, deal with the fact that you're not drinking enough water, you're dehydrated, you're exhausted all the time. Couldn't deal with any of that shit. And he's on TV going, oh, it's amazing to watch all these Russians dying. The fuck? I don't have a problem with Russians. I don't have a problem with Persians. The TV is not going to tell me who my enemy is. That's the main point, I guess, on this whole thing. TV, the Iranians, they want to kill you. Which Iranians? Can't be all of them. Most of them don't even know that I exist. Did I say something on my shit live stream that, maybe 150 people are going to watch? I pissed off Iran. And they're, we're going to come over there and kill you, Jay. What did I do? Well, you're not Muslim. All right. Not converting either. What do you want me to tell you? Well, your podcast. Only 150 people listened to it, but 3 Iranian dudes heard what you had to say, and they want to nuke you now. This is literally the argument that CNN, Fox News, the Mockingbird media is going to put out there. It's like, aren't you afraid of the Iranians? No, I'm afraid of some of the sleeper cells that dumb fucking zombie you had in office for 4 years allowed into this country because you guys wanted to create inflation. Then you wanted to bring in a client class who would do cheap labor to maintain the system, but also serve as a way to pad the numbers for congressional representation in Washington. I'm sure there were some Russian terrorists that came through, some Iranian terrorists, probably some Somalian dude with an IQ of 65 who's probably going to move to Minnesota and perpetrate some of the biggest fraud in American history with his 65 IQ, inability to read the English language, and I'm sure he's going to try and serve me some bananas and rice. It's like, yeah, like, right. Right. Oh, but after we let these sleeper cells in, we need to go over and bomb Iran. Great. Lindsey Graham just beating off in the mirror right now. Oh, that military-industrial complex money. And my 18-year-old rent boy banging me from behind. Like, I can't wait to see more death and destruction. There's fucking demons. All of these people are literal fucking demons. Or unable to... well, that's a possibility too. Personally, we'll see what happens. I don't think China has the manpower to take Taiwan. Amphibious landings are extremely difficult. And I mean, they've got the air power to go over there and bomb, but I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Again, just a regular dude offering my inane opinions about shit. This backfires. That's what I'm saying. It's a political disaster. If this goes sideways, turns into another quagmire, or, I don't know, we just can't affect change, it's going to make us look weak on the world stage. 20 years of constant warfare in the Middle East has ruined our military. I don't know why this is hard for people to understand. You know, yeah, we got our high-tech stealth bombers, but we rely on basically World War II technology. The American military, right, is a naval power. That's what we are. Russia is a continental power, meaning they have a strong army. This has just been the reality. If I had to choose between them, I'd take the Navy. But, you know, we're spending all this money, right? We have the largest military budget in the world. A lot of that is so other countries don't have to spend on their military, honestly. Europe never recovered from World War II. I'm just going to state that, okay? The bases that are in Europe basically subsidize the economies, okay? So if we go away or we're diminished on the world stage, Europe implodes because they socialized everything because somebody else was paying for it. But, yeah, again, I'm repeating myself at this point. We just have to see how it plays out. I'm hoping this isn't a disaster. I'm hoping we bomb them. The Iranians overthrow the fucking mullahs or whatever. And then, you know, we can move on to the next thing that Israel wants. You know, our greatest ally. Yeah, no, it is what it is, man. It was always going to happen. Whether it was a second term of Biden, whether it was a first term of Kamala, or Trump's second term. This was going to happen. This was planned out. It is what I don't think Donald Trump just went in there and went, yeah, let's go to war with Iran. You know, Benjamin Netanyahu, because I'm not calling this dude Bibi. Let's give a demon an affectionate name, right? Dude's been warning about Iran getting a nuke since 1996. I think it was 1992 or 3 when he first started. So they basically been 6 months to a year away from getting a nuke since like 1996 at minimum. You know, those videos are online. But, yeah, it was going to, no matter who was in there, it was going to happen. He is, but I have no proof of this. I'm just going to share a conspiracy I have. I think the powers that be, deep state, oligarchs, whoever you want to blame. I'm talking about the real power, not the billionaires you see. That's not the real power. Real power is unseen. It's in the background. Okay? I think what happened was this. I think they tried to assassinate Trump twice. It failed. It was obvious. It was obvious deep state plan. Now, I'll throw in Charlie Kirk because I'm not 100% sold on the narrative that Tyler Robinson, just decided, hey, I like butt fucking my furry boyfriend. Trump's a transphobe, so I'm just going to go kill him. Seems a little bit too simple to me. Seems a lot like the Matthew Crooks thing. Oh, this dude that looks like he has fetal alcohol syndrome was so bad at shooting he got kicked off his high school rifle team. And he pops up there, takes a shot at Trump, right? With the strangest security perimeter in human history. The Pac-Man security. Okay? And there was a second shooter behind Crooks. That's the way I understand it. You can hear there's a guy, Peak Prosperity. And if you believe him, he did a bunch of work on this where he was comparing the audio. So if you listen, you can actually hear different rounds. Sounds like different distances, actually. Okay. I don't know if any of that is true. I have not looked into it. But what I do know is I have a pretty good bullshit detector, and I've always had it. Not saying I don't get tricked. I've been tricked in the past. But when it comes to a lot of big shit, when I go, this narrative doesn't make sense, the narrative is usually made up. So Charlie Kirk was anti-war, right? He conveniently gets taken out by some guy dating a furry that's on drugs. I bet you it was on a bunch of psych drugs because SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, make you more suggestible. Brave New World, Aldous Huxley. Okay? I think that's who wrote it. Yeah, I think it was Aldous Huxley. Right? I'm going wrote, so if I mess that up, you can crucify me down in the comments. But that narrative is basically the world the ruling class wants. Everybody's drugged up. They accept their hierarchy. It's a caste system. That way the ruling class doesn't have to worry about being overthrown or losing their position. Okay. So this guy shoots Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was anti-war and had a big following. If you look, the military recruitment numbers under Biden were terrible. So what I think happened, something along these lines, I think the deep state went to Trump and they were like, look, we tried to assassinate. I don't think they said it in these terms. We tried to assassinate you. We failed twice. Okay. The military recruiting numbers, because this is the Powell Doctrine, get the conservatives on board because they do most of the fighting. And conservatives tend to be more patriotic, blah, blah, blah. So I think they wanted war with Iran, looked at the military recruiting numbers, the two failed assassination attempts, and said, look, we're not going to fight this. We're just going to let it go. You're probably going to win the presidency. We're looking at the polling. We want military recruitment up. You're going to go to war with Iran. That's how I think it went down. And I think Trump, honestly, Trump has been highly resistant to the war drums. But at a certain point, the deep state is going to get what it wants. How do you like the debut of 35K Lucas kamikaze drones? They sound pretty cool. They were modeled after Iran's. Yeah, dude, don't exactly know too much about, the drones. Not really that educated, but I can say it does appear to me that we're headed into a new world. One in which drone warfare is going to take over. I have a buddy. He told me all about it. He was fascinated by it. And to me, his narrative made sense. I'm sure you could accomplish the suicide drones for less than $35K. But, yeah, it's the military-industrial complex. So they're going to overpay for everything. Hey, we need a $600 toilet and a $2,000 hammer. Like, okay, right. No, and again, a lot of these wars are actually testing grounds. So, I don't know that much about it, but yeah, I guess. I mean, it makes sense to me that these drones would start taking over. It's like, you know, you can target with a missile, but flying a drone in there gives you precision. It's going to give you precision that a missile might not have. With missiles, you're probably still pretty accurate, but again, kamikaze drones taking out tanks and shit, that just makes sense to me. Missiles are also more expensive, so you never make smart moves when you are desperate. Oh, 100%. That's one of the reasons why fear is used in advertising. It's used by police officers. Desperation is fear. So, if you look at the media, it's going to go, this comes from Chase Hughes, and it's just the easiest way for me to remember how this works. So I got into his videos, and he was explaining how PSYOPs work, and he said, fear, obligation, and guilt. Right? This is what people will use because nothing shuts, ironically enough, okay, for your average person. I'm not talking about borderline psychopaths because it doesn't work. But for your average person, nothing shuts down their ability to think like fear. Anger, yeah, if you show it, but what you're really trying to get the person to be is scared. So, think about the news media. You know, there's a new violent strain of American teenagers, just lawless and robbing people. Hillary Clinton, in the 90s, a new form of super predator. You know, your average person sits at home after they got off work. They're sitting there, want to watch Cheers or whatever. In the late 80s, early 90s, Hillary Clinton comes strutting up with her 150 IQ, or whatever they say that she has. There's a new form of super predator. What? First thing you do is perk up, because it breaks your narrative. You go in, whether you're guilty or not guilty, there's no innocent, it's just guilt or not guilt in a court of law. You're in the police station. First thing they do, play the game. They'll make you sit there, okay? You just watch Jimmy Can't Swim or any of the other police interrogation footage. Cop makes you sit there for an hour, maybe, right? What are they making you do? You're in an unfamiliar environment. You don't know why you're there, right? And if you did commit a crime, like let's just say you're a horrible person, you murdered somebody or hung out with Jeffrey Epstein and SA'd somebody, whatever it is, you're sitting there running through the Rolodex of what they could possibly have on you. You're not calm, so you're not thinking clearly. So you can't formulate a strategy. Cop comes walking in, slams whatever on the table. You can see him do it in these videos, like they're papers. They just slam it down. One of the things cops have said is a guilty man isn't nervous. He sits in there, he puts his head down, he might take a nap. An innocent man is just shaking. Again, it's fear of the unknown. What am I here for? Can somebody explain why I'm here? All that's coming in time. All right. They slam down the file they have, and they hit you with the fog. Fear, obligation, and guilt. This is the emotions they're going to run through. Pay attention to your advertising. Pay attention to what the news media, the Mockingbird media, is going to start to do when they want to sell this war. Fear, obligation, and guilt. You know, the Iranians, they're going to fire a missile up your ass. What? Oh, well, that's not working because you think that's bullshit. Well, Jay, as a veteran yourself, you know, you have an obligation to support the war. You don't want to make the troops feel unsupported, do you? Obligation and guilt. Next comes framing, authority, tribe, emotion. So fog, fate. It's all going to run. It's not always going to be that neat, but those are the emotions they're trying to steer in you. Because fear resets your narrative. Guy comes in, he reframes the narrative for you. Because now you're receptive, right? The TV operates as an authority figure. And they're like, you know, you got Anderson Cooper up there, okay? The scion of the Vanderbilts. It's like, go look at the news personalities. They're all legacy. Vanderbilt, Anderson Cooper, Minka Brzezinski, her father was a deep state operative, a bunch of them. When you actually just start Googling these people, and you can just go to your CIA-pedia, because Wikipedia is actually a good receptacle to find knowledge in, if I'm using the right word, right? You just got to read between the lines. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. Just read through whatever they all agree on is the narrative that wants to be pushed. So you sit there, I'm afraid. Or, don't worry, our troops are going to handle Iran, and you're going to have a functioning democracy. Because I'm Anderson Cooper, and I went to CIA propaganda school. You know, and I'm telling you, I'm a subject matter expert on the Middle East. And then they hit you with the emotion at the end. Tribe, you're an American patriot. Jay, you're Republican, right? And a former service member. So of course you don't want to not support the troops. It's not that I don't support the troops. I support them far more than you do. It's the fact that, again, why the fuck are we doing this? But yeah, that's why you never, basically, one of the reasons why you never make a smart move when you're desperate. It's because you're afraid. You're not calmly thinking. You're not thinking rationally. You know, if a black widow walks on your hand, most of us have the worst reaction ever. We freak out. Instead of calmly just picking up like a book or a piece of paper and putting it in the spider's path. Making dumb decisions. I was in Dubai. Yeah, dude. I mean, it is what it is. It's the most not one of the. Trump. I've been informed we have sunk 9 Iranian ships and will send the rest to the bottom of the sea. Other than that, their navy is doing very well. Fuck it. No, dude, he is, man. I will say this. Even though I'm just not happy with the war, Trump is fucking hilarious. Dude, he really is. He cracks me up with the shit that he says. The shots he was taking at Democrats during the State of the Union, I was just sitting there fucking cracking up. I'm like, hey, Jay, I'm going to say, Yizil Chai, the people of Israel survive. Israel Chai. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, I joke about the Jews, right? I think hating anybody because they're a member of whatever tribe is like the dumbest thing possible. I don't blame the Israelis. I don't even necessarily blame the Israeli government. They want what's best for their country. It's just that they seem to keep dragging us into wars. And it's like, bro, if your best friend gets you into a fight every weekend, it's probably not your best friend. It's like, hey, Jay, let's go to the bar. Bro, you going to talk shit again and get us into a fight with a group of people? Yeah, but I'm your best friend. See that guy over there? He just kind of gave me a dirty look. Can you run over there and punch him for me? Like, no, bro. I'm not fucking hitting anybody. Cockabee. Bro, all of these people are pathetic. Who, like, literally, Cockabee. We're told these are the smartest, most moral people on the planet, and they play a role. They're theater kids. It's always, I say this ad nauseum. It's always, hey Jay, you're not going along with the narrative? Let me bring out like X person. He's going to set up the framing is that he's some moral stalwart. Jay, I'm a respected tribal elder. Fuck off, Cuckabee. You went to Washington. This is where the scummiest people in the world go. And I just watch your actions. It's why I'm a fan of Massey and why I'm a fan of Rand Paul. Right? Massey has his beliefs. I don't always agree with him. But at least he sticks to his guns. So not that your narrative always has to be the same, but I need to have it to have certain core things where you can say, yeah, I thought it was this way, but, I looked into it more and I changed my mind. I think it's this. Okay. It was like, hey, let's trot out Lindsey Graham. I swear to God, at some point, they're going to pan to Lindsey Graham and he's just going to be diving on a rent boy cock right in front of the camera. Like, dude, they're all pathetic. Dan Crenshaw is a fucking pathetic human. Fuck that guy. It's not real. It's really our... Oh, dude. Japan has had our back. They're like, oh, we forgive you for bombing us. We now become friends. Dude, Japan's great. It's like you compare and contrast it. Israel, have a problem with their government. Japan, don't have any problem with anything the Japanese do. I love the fact that the Japanese are more concerned about maintaining their culture than a bunch of bullshit. Wow, oh my God. Jay, you are antiseptic. Oh, I don't know what that means. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing. Hope it's not a bad thing. Genghis Khan, rumor has it he reproduced more than it's estimated. No, dude, I love it. I don't know exactly what he wiped out. I just read that at some point, and I'm like, dude, this guy was a fucking killer. He just banged chicks and fucking took over places. What's not to love about Genghis Khan? Glass factory, pretty much. What a Chad. I agree. I can't believe oil is only up 5%. Market does not care. Again, got to see how things are going to play out. I mean, are the Arab countries, OPEC, are they, can they make up for the shortfall? Maybe. I don't know. But again, how does this affect trade if you can't use the Strait of Hormuz? So, I mean, I'll say shit about it, but again, all of this is just unknown. Pre-market is only down for the time being. And again, I don't know what'll spook the market. I mean, in reality, the market could stay overvalued for the next 10 years. eventually the numbers will connect, but that's why I don't tell people what to do. That's why I say just be aware that the market is overvalued. In my opinion, this is what backs up my opinion. Your price to book, your Buffett indicator, more than 2 times the M2 money supply, your historically low dividend, your PE ratios. But I mean, this is what informs my opinion that the market is overvalued. What's going to happen with the market? I have no idea. I don't know. You know, there's all these YouTubers, you know, the big ones. They sit around acting like they have some access to information that the rest of us don't. You know, and a lot of times, I think they overcomplicate things and they talk about stupid bullshit they don't actually understand. But, whatever. It's clearly not as important to global energy supply as experts claim. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, dude. Every time somebody pushes the experts on me, I just sit there and I go, yeah, it's just going to be a little bit of time before this dude turns out to not know what he's talking about. I fucking hate the word expert at this point. Everybody is like, hey, listen to your house cleaning expert. Or like you're doing something and they'll go, oh, you're the expert. And I'm like, with this fucking word. It's one of those words that just gets thrown around way too easy and way too often. And it ruins the word. It's like, hey, I'd like to talk to an expert. Hey, here's your, oh, you wanted a Big Mac? Here's your food technician. It's everything. Flowery language. Flowery language is wording from communism. So, this guy isn't a fast food worker. He's a fast food technician. What? It's like, you know, like I had this buddy. He fought in the UFC and he worked as a bartender for a long time. And he had to tell me he wasn't a bartender, he was a mixologist. And I go, what's wrong with being a bartender? He's like, well, a bartender just serves you drinks. A mixologist knows how to make mixed drinks. And I'm like, this just seems like some bullshit you thought up. Just seems like some bullshit you thought up to make yourself feel good. Like, about what you do. But again, I go back to the question. What's wrong with being a bartender? Being a bartender doesn't mean you have a low IQ. It just means you're a bartender. There's all this contempt for work. Your bug killing technician will be over in 15 minutes to deal with your cockroach problem. Can I just get a fucking exterminator? Do I have to sit here and use flowery language? Oh, you're the expert. They better chill on the rate cut. It's booming. Bro, watch the 2-year treasury. That's what the Fed follows. Chat. You should clown on Kyle. Oh, I do need to do something on this dude. Kyle Kalinske. I don't understand how this dipshit got famous. He was on Rogan's podcast. Okay? And then the dude lost his mind over Trump. Right? Because Rogan used to have all these YouTube stars on. Some of them just... Kyle Kalinske is a dumb fame whore. He's literally a 40-year-old man involved in feminine politics. It's like the dude literally tweeted out, what are those lines on the ground? And somebody had to go, that's farmland. That's where people grow your food. So again, we're back to, I don't understand how, I at this point, I think, I've said this for years. You start with the Wild West. That's YouTube in the beginning. Whenever YouTube was created. What, 2005 or 2006, whatever. Right? Google steps in and buys it. Because Google is really a deep state operation. DARPA, InQtel, all of that shit. There's a site where you can just upload videos, right? Google buys it. Why did they buy it? Okay. People start uploading videos. People start getting more popular than legacy media. And then they changed the algorithm in 2015. I think a lot of the people that are big today either got lucky in the initial wave and they're still doing it. But I also think there are a lot of people connected to corporations and, agencies and, you want to say deep staters, but I think it would work more like this if I was getting recruited. Sitting there, eating dinner, some strange guy sits down, he's like, hey, what you said about Lindsey Graham on your shit YouTube channel was pretty funny. Talking about rent boys and all the shit you've talked about Lindsey Graham over the years. Yeah, we're listening, right? Well, we've got some information on you, right? We've got a list of your pornography habits. Whatever. We've got a list of random shit that I've typed in the internet. Okay? What does a prostate massage feel like? Whatever it is. It'd be a shame if that got released to the public, or you're a patriot, aren't you, son? Served in the military, served in Iraq. You want to serve your country. Well, good things can happen to people that serve their country. Like, maybe the algorithm changes a little bit. You get a little bit of a push. Go up in the rankings. Occasionally we'll send you an email or give you a call and we'll give you some ideas that you can talk about on your YouTube channel. I think that's how it works most of the time. I think Kyle Kuklinski, right? I think he's connected to some corporations or something like that, and I think he's just a raging fucktard liberal. I don't even want to say liberal. I think he's a raging fucktard progressive. Because I meet a lot of liberal people I like. And they have pretty close... I'm actually, again, I've said this to people, surprisingly liberal about shit that doesn't affect me. Jay, how do you feel about gay marriage? I don't actually give a fuck, okay? That's between the Christians and the gays. And no, I don't think the government should be involved in it in any way. What do you think about trans people? Is who it is. That's who you are, that's who you are. It doesn't bother me any. Why would it? Doesn't affect me. So, but a lot of these people are just militant statists. Kyle Kuklinski is that. If you actually broke down what this dipshit knows, it all seems like talking points to me. Him and his wife. Crystal ball. You really won there, Kuklinski. I like that. I've said that for a long time. A lot of these fucking gaming channels might make it a little bit different for the powers that be to separate you into neat little baskets. Like, Russia's our enemy. Well, I know this guy Sven from Russia, and we always play Diablo 2 together. That dude's awesome. Why would I not like him? Or I know, whatever, we'll just think of Amir. He lives in Iran. So I'm worried about him right now. No, I don't want you bobbing. Gaming and just human connection can end a lot of this. Because it becomes extremely difficult for the TV to tell you who to hate when you know those people. So, I think we should. I like Persia better. I think that's a cool last name. Kind of sad. Yup. Well, you know, it is what it is. This is what governments do. It's a proxy war in the Ukraine. The goal is to drain the Russian economy. I actually think some of what's going on in Iran has to directly do with Russia and China. Controlling them. It becomes the Kissinger doctrine. Control the money, control the energy, and control the food. And you control everything. So, I mean, that's what we've been operating under for the past 60, 70 years. We've been in Syria since the 1960s. We were interfering in Persia in the 1950s. Oh, dude, 100%. So, you imagine, Ted, can you imagine there's a new supreme leader? He's just sitting there listening to my YouTube. He's like, man, you know, this guy breaks it down, but he's kind of a moron. Like, right? I don't pretend to be that smart. He's like, we know America's plan. The whole narrative that it is. It's not true. It's not true at all. It's all a fucking, it's all it is, all everything is a narrative. Like earlier when I was talking about the guy I was talking to, I could just tell. Everything that this guy thinks is the narrative that the TV told him to think. Right? Where did I get wise? First off, I'm making excuses here. I was still all drugged up by the VA in 2020. Okay, so I'm just telling you, the pharmaceutical drugs put me in a fog where I couldn't think things out logically. I had racing thoughts, brain fog, all of this shit, right? And it was after I got the first round of the COVID vaccine. I went, this doesn't make sense to me. How did you make this vaccine in 9 months? And then I started looking into it and I go, oh, this is all bullshit. So, I mean, you can get tricked, but yeah, but like most people still think legacy media is anything other than propaganda. That's all it is. Like I've said to people at work, we're like, oh, we come in here and you're watching Fox News. I go, yeah. I go, Fox News is just propaganda that I like. CNN is propaganda for liberals. MSNBC is propaganda for progressives. And they all kind of cross over a little bit, but that's what it is. Just switch back and forth. You can figure out what the narrative is. If the Democrats and the Republicans are voting in lockstep on an issue, it's bad for you. These people do not have your best interest in mind. I looked up not paying taxes. Yeah, right. One of the narratives looks like that you said you looked up, do I have to pay taxes? You know, like the CIA guy across from me, where I have to sit there and go, No, you know what I love, dude? I love constantly paying you dumb motherfuckers money. They keep getting us in fights. Fuck up the market by socializing it and subsidizing it. Because you want it, because you got to get your goddamn fucking dumb hands into everything. Because you're like, well, we have pension funds, right? And, you know, with the market. Well, the market was never meant for that. The market is there to determine the fair value of something. That's why Ben Graham called it a voting machine in the short run and a weighing machine in the long run. How I view the market is, it's just a computer trying to figure out what things are worth. And it's people with their own rational interests trying to decide that, right? And that's why I also say sometimes a good investment is just relative to the observer. You know, it's, well, I don't need this right now. You know, look, I'm old. I want to try to make some money. So what I'm going to do is start buying some small cap stocks. I know they're more volatile, but I don't give a shit. I've already made my money. Me, I think younger people should be honestly more risk averse. And that it comes down to, think about it like this, right? If there's a massive market, let's just go back to the late 90s. Let's say you're a guy, right, made a fuck ton of money in the market. You bought socks.com, you know, jerking off in your mom's mouth.com, whatever it is you bought. You know, fingering my asshole on a Tuesday at the truck stop stock. And it shot up. Okay? And you were smart enough where you went, the narrative doesn't make sense. And you sold out in 2000. Okay? You preserved your wealth. Let's say you just went to cash. You sat there and then you bought into the market at its lows. And then, you know, you had yourself great financial crisis. You saw that coming. Kind of sold out of the market before it got hairy. You preserved your wealth. You had to sit there and cash your bonds for like 2 years. Not worried. Whatever. So then you rebought in at the market lows. At this point, you probably have enough money that you can just let the market do what it does and not worry about it. But because you have all that time. Now, the traditional way of looking at it is they say you should take some more risk when you're young. Kind of disagree with that. Because that what you have is time. You don't need to risk for the higher return. In order to get a higher return, you have to take on more risk. So, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I can just see that sitting there going, yeah, and we saw the whole not paying taxes thing. In Google Trends, sorry I hit send early. No worries. It's skyrocketed. Check it out. ICE will be assisting the IRS soon. Wouldn't surprise me at all. That wouldn't surprise me. George Carlin in his book, When Will Jesus Bring the Pork Chop, said, they changed the name, same shitty pay, but now you're a custodian or whatever, and you have a cooler title. Yeah, no, that's, dude, honestly, I didn't remember that Carlin said that, but that's probably where I got it from, to be honest with you. Carlin was just absolutely brilliant. You know, but yeah, I noticed that when I was young and I was working a job, they were like, oh, this is when I was working at Burger King. They're like, oh, you're a fast food technician. It's like, bro, I don't need the flowery language. It just is what it is. Give me the money. You said that you would pay me X. I come to work on time, right? And you know what I mean? I don't need the fucking title. The title is on. It is the ruling credentialed class. This is like how insidious this is and where it filters down from. The ruling class are a bunch of arrogant fucktards. So you have some professor, right? He's a professor. He's got a lot of knowledge in a very narrow field and then thinks everybody else is dumb. Noam Chomsky probably thinks Noam Chomsky is a fucking CIA asset, okay? But he's probably sitting there thinking about how intelligent he is because of his work in linguistics. Like 5 people in the world can understand what he's saying. 5, 10 people. Okay. That's great. How many, like when I was going to school, both times, I would just sit there looking at a professor who didn't know how to do basic shit. But yet, they all think they're the smart ones, right? And that's where the credentialed elitism comes from. Elites, to distinguish themselves, need a title. This is why you have all the Prince and Lord Prince Andrew Montauban Windsor. It's a fucking German family that rules England, right? You only look at these dukes and princes, whatever they are, they're titles. Titles mean something to them because in their stuffy, dumb shit society, where they go to parties and fart in each other's mouths and tell each other how great they are, titles mean something. To the rest of us, titles don't really mean shit. Yeah. It's not an exterminator. It's a pest extermination technician. You always got to church that shit up. It's like, bro, I'm an exterminator. Shut the fuck up. It's them that has a problem with your labor, not you. And you can see their arrogance filtered onto you. I'm professor of anthropology at whatever, New York University. Okay, so you studied a bunch of bullshit. No, we need anthropologists. For what? The fuck do I need an anthropologist for? Well, you're just ignorant because you don't really understand anthropology. Is it the study of humans and their culture? Yeah, I know what it is. Of what fucking use is that to me? Right? You're going to make a documentary about the Maasai. I want to see them killing some fucking lions. I'm a professor of anthropology. Great. A guy with a 4-year degree in accounting is more useful than you. A guy who knows how to change oil is more useful to me than you are. You look at these people. Well, Jay, why don't you see the importance of anthropology? Because I don't give a shit about it. I really fucking don't. I can go read somebody's history. Or whatever useless degrees. Like that woman that moved to Canada. She goes, I'm a professor of far-right studies. What? How is this even a degree? Who wants to listen to you? It's her sitting there with a magnifying glass trying to understand why. Like at this point, if you're not a communist, you're far right. I was going to talk about this, but we've been talking about Iran and doing the comments for so long. But no, it's just like this woman, right? If I was sitting in a room with her and we compared education credentials, she'd go, oh, well, the furthest you ever went in education was you got a bachelor's degree. Correct. I can imagine this woman just sitting there at dinner with me, kind of admonishing me for some of my views. And she's like, I'm a professor of far-right studies. If it has studies after the name, it's not a real degree. That's a bunch of bullshit. I could just sit there, imagine sitting there with her where she's calling me dumb all day. And I'm looking at her going, can you change a light bulb? Could you repair some damaged woodwork at my house? Can you fix my car? I'm not the best mechanic, and I don't really want to be. Okay? Can you do anything of use? No, I write papers about far-right studies. This woman's a real rocket scientist. Trump was going to get her, so she moves to Canada. And she's talking about how she can't find housing because she doesn't have enough money. And it's like, a basic search of the internet would have revealed on your destination that there was a massive housing crisis in Vancouver, an affordability crisis, right? All manufactured by the elites. The elites, oh, your house is an asset. Yeah, your house is an asset. It's a liability, though. So, this is like, dude, yeah, oh, well, you're just a stupid MAGA chud. You and the rest of the MAGA chuds. You probably think you need guns. Right? But yeah, that's credentialism is what it's called. And you see these people all the time. I went and got a doctorate degree in the most useless fucking easy subject I could. Then I went around and I took an online course. And then I'm going to put all of these titles in my email. And the rest of us just tune out. Like, who is this clown? Ugh, it's fucking stupid. No, dude, I haven't seen that. I'm not surprised at all. Israel's got some badass... See, part of the problem with war is we sit around and we go, how fucking cool are those Iron Dome lasers? Right? This is part of the hypocrisy of the whole thing, where it's like, yeah, I do think I didn't want you to do it, bomb the Iranian enrichment facility, because I was worried about getting dragged into a war, but it was pretty fucking cool what you did. And it's like, Jay, you oppose the war on drugs, right? Vehemently. Yes. Would you join the Coast Guard? We'll put you behind the .50 caliber, and we're going to go bust drug runners. 100%. You give me a .50 caliber Gatling gun. Basically, I'm in for whatever you want to do. It's like, you want to go fight the Predator? Give me a .50 caliber Gatling gun. Yeah, and, I mean, look, there's no way a human being can handhold a Gatling gun. It's cool as fuck, but, yeah, unless you're Jesse the Body Ventura in Predator, you're probably not getting away with that. It's like, hey, you're saying we shouldn't go into Iran, but we'll give you a .50 caliber sniper rifle. I'm in. Start offering hand jobs as stock market shoots up. Bro, we've been in idiocracy for the past 15 years. You know, all the infighting, all the mentions of white supremacy, that was all deep state propaganda. You can actually go and just type in mentions of white supremacy and imperialism and all that shit. And you can watch its rise from right after the financial crisis. Because that's what that was. It was a psyop to protect Wall Street. I understand why the government did it. System collapse is the most terrifying thing that can happen in the modern world. We've all been domesticated. Hey, rely on the state. You hear this argument from fucking progressives about guns. Hey, you don't need guns. We have cops. Right, but I still need guns. Why? Because I fucking like guns. Okay? Don't grow your own food. You can just go to the supermarket. But the great financial crisis literally risked destroying the entire world's financial systems. So I understand why they did it. They saw Occupy Wall Street and they said, we got to divide these people and we have to divide Americans. Mentions of white supremacy, DEI. I remember being in school for finance. Somebody told me about ESG and DEI and stakeholder capitalism. And I was just sitting there going, the fuck are you talking about, stakeholder capitalism? Jay, we all have a stake in these companies. No, you don't. Not unless you own a fucking share of them. Well, we want to offer our opinion. I don't give a shit about your opinion. Give me my return. That's what I care about. But yeah, we've been an idiocracy. At a certain point, when all this shit does collapse, yeah, we're all basically going to be going, welcome to Costco, I love you. You want a handy in the back? I'm a low tester, so you're a criminal, pretty much. Yeah. Kia Oro, hello. What's going on, man? Moonshot, I haven't seen you in a while. Well, it looks like Iran are willing to go out with a bang as Iran confirms they will not come back to the table. So now what? No idea, brother. That is way above my pay grade. I'm not... Dude, one thing I didn't want to do on YouTube is pretend like I'm some expert on anything, right? That's why I just tell people, I'm just a normal dude. I like reading. I like the market. I like talking into a microphone. I'm not an expert on any of this shit. Just offering how I see things. Ben Shapiro, the supposed expert, gets his talking points disseminated to him from Israel. Most of these people on YouTube, the news, they don't know shit. They're not any more intelligent than you or I. And there are guys out there. They are, Dave Smith, as much as, I don't always agree with that dude, Dave Smith is very knowledgeable on politics. And I listen to his podcast because that's what he's into. I don't agree with a lot of the shit that the guy says, but it is what it is. That guy probably has a much deeper understanding of what went into this conflict. I just know the basics, right? I know Netanyahu came over here in the 90s. They all had a fucking Iran boner, and then they've kept their fucking wieners hard for Iran for the past 30 years, going on 40 years. It is what it is. So I have no idea what's going to happen. Maybe they're posturing. Maybe they are going to come back to the table. Or maybe this is going to end in a fucking quagmire. Like Iraq. I don't really think Afghanistan was so much of a quagmire. And honestly, if you ask me, I think we should have maintained our base, Bagram, in Afghanistan. I think that was one of the dumbest strategic moves in history. I don't know how the CIA allowed that, but I did see some bullshit there. We left $85 billion in equipment for the Taliban. Now we're friends with Al-Qaeda in Syria. And the Taliban were also told to keep the heroin flowing. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's been a while. I just read that Iran will not negotiate, so this isn't good news, man. I kind of started the podcast off on a little bit of a somber note. I don't think this is a good thing. I was team no more GWAT. I was team let's not go to war anymore. But again, I don't know what the grand plan is. Here's what I do know. If the United States managed to subjugate every country in the world, right? What they're basically done. Well, let's just say they got complete control of everything. The next thing they're going to turn their gaze on is the American populace. Why? Because in order to maintain the empire, this is why no matter how many times human beings go through this, they will never learn. The empire ends up destroying itself in the end. So, what made America wealthy? Yeah, we'll just go with the traditional story. Free market capitalism. Now, I can make a point that it was partially free market capitalism. The other part of it was geography. If you look at the Mississippi River system, it has a very gentle slope down to the ocean. People always go, well, why didn't Africa ever develop? Again, go and look at the geography. It's extremely difficult to use their rivers. Their rivers are not as navigable as, say, Europe or the United States, Canada, even Mexico. So that's the story, but you can even see it. As they get power, to maintain power, they need control. So once they have control, they start doing things like censoring people or, you're not allowed to have certain thoughts. This ruins innovation. It stifles it. The populace tends to become lazy over time. So you lose that work ethic. Then you start controlling more and more sectors of the economy, and it just destroys the empire at the end. That's how the United States empire will end. I don't know when. But, yeah, that's why they do that. It's... One could say this is perhaps another tactic to get Russia to the table. Think about it. No, I have thought about it. Like earlier I said, I think some of this is actually directed at China and Russia because they're an important ally. But the United States is secretly saying, number one, there's the oil thing. Again, 80%, I think I read that number. Don't quote me on it, but I believe 80% of China's oil comes from Iran. So this is a control thing. This is about the petrodollar. And, in my opinion, and, yeah, I can see how this could be construed as a way to get Russia to the negotiating table, end the Ukrainian war, take out the leadership of Iran, and, install a friendly government, and, you've killed two birds with one stone. Syria, Yep, agreed. That's why there's talk of annexing Cuba. I don't care. I like Cubans. Seem to be a good fucking people. Yeah, you're probably right. This is probably a strike. You look at Syria, Russia had a naval base there. Okay, you look at Venezuela, they were sending oil over there. You look at Cuba, an ally of Russia, and then Iran, an ally of Russia. Makes sense. It's probably why the whole Ukraine war was started. But anyways, guys, I'm losing my voice. I'm surprised I could talk this long. So, hey, this was a fun live stream. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate all of your comments, man. Appreciate you hanging out however long you hanged out. Hung out. My bad. Hanged out. Hung out. Definitely be back next week if life is willing. And, you know, I just want to say much love to you guys. I hope you guys have a great week. I hope I entertained you a little bit. But I'm out. So have a good week, guys.